Hi and welcome to Gamers Web. Right, so in this video, with it being October, I'm going to take a look at Don't Look Back from Blacksite Studios. This is a tabletop horror survival game with a bit of a twist because it's actually a cooperative game. So rather than one against one, you're actually playing with other players trying to survive in a horror movie. So to speak. Okay, so the sound of heavy footsteps moves closer and closer. You and your friends came here for some fun, but now you're fighting for your lives. Right, so the game itself is a cooperative game, as I just mentioned. You take the part of one of these four survivors. So you've got your four typical teenagers, and you've also got five typical teenagers and a cop, and you're trying to escape from this bad guy who can be represented in various different ways. So the contents are 6 resin hero miniatures, 1 multi-part resin killer miniature, token sheet and 2 light tokens, the Don't Look Back rules, some dice, and the hero reference charts. Right, so let's have a look. Now, the game's been out for a while. It came out about 2 years ago. There's quite a lot of expansions already out for it, but I only really paid attention to it very short while ago. Okay, so we get our characters, which we'll look at in a moment, in a neat case which is designed like a VHS case. We get our light tokens. So light tokens, light on and light off, which we'll just have a look. If I can just open that up. So these play a very important part in the game. So light on, light off. They play an important part in the game, which we'll come and discuss in a moment. We get our cardstock counters. There's quite a lot of them. We get a ruler, which as you can see is designed like a hatchet or a machete, and this has got inches increments going along the side and going along this side, and that's 1 inch, and that's 2 inches. So you basically can measure with that whatever distance you need to. You got these wound tokens, skull tokens here, which are your terror tokens. On the back there are also your blood tokens as well, which are for when your characters get wounded. And we've got these here, these are the tokens, which are your scare tokens. And then we've got these innocent bystanders who appear in the game, which I'll explain in a moment. Okay, so got the rules. The rules are quite simple. It's a little complex when you first read through them. I would suggest checking out one of Ash Barker on Guerrilla Miniatures games playthroughs. He's done quite a few playthroughs and they're all pretty informative and really set the tone of how the game plays, and anything that Ash does is always good. Okay, so I'll leave a link in the description to those below. Right, so Don't Look Back has been a labour of love, and I want to take a moment to thank some very important people. Donald and Matthew, the guy who designed the game, he's thanking his friends and family, which is always good to do when you're a writer, because they're the people who look after you when you really need it. Okay, right, so we have some important concepts in the game. We have some very simple game mechanics that come into play at all times. Very important is the rule of cinema. If you come across a rule that kind of contradicts what is going to happen, go for the easy option. Don't make things overly complex, and don't take away from the fun of the game. You need to try and enjoy yourself when you're playing the game. Okay, so we have game concepts here, which tells you about a table. It's played on a 3x3 table with which is divided into 4 quadrants, A, B, C and D. Sometimes it might be divided into 3 depending on the scenario, but all the ones in the core book are all A, B, C and D. What you need is a D20 and a D10, which we get here. We also get 2 D10, 1 D20 and a D6. We also get some of the miniatures, which we'll look at in a moment. You need some terrain, which you can get from Blacksite Studios, or you can make your own terrain. I'm at the moment working on some Camp Lake Crystal style terrain from Friday the 13th. And then we have things called line of sight and measuring. Okay, so line of sight, the game uses a unique line of sight rule. So the game's called Don't Look Back for a reason, because obviously in a horror movie you don't want to look back because there could be something behind you. And because it uses the concept of jump scares and things coming out of the bushes and out of the shadows and from concealed spaces to try and grab you, you don't really want to look back behind you. As such, all characters have a line of sight arc of 180 degrees to their front, so they can't see directly behind them. Whereas the NPC characters, the supporting cast, they can see 360 degrees, so they can see the terror when it's coming up and sneak on up on them, which is very good for the actual characters, your proper characters that you play, because it builds up more tension when you're playing the game, because you might be facing in the wrong direction and see something horrific, and it builds up your horror count and how much fright you've got with your terror. Okay, so we can randomly move and place things using the icon, and we've got the front arc and line of sight. As I said, they've got 180 degrees line of sight to the front, whereas everybody else has a line of sight to the rear. And then we've got skill rolls, which are all done on a d20, and you look for a result equal to or less than the skill that's being rolled. So if you've got a skill of 8, we want to get 8 or less. Okay, so we've got the game broken down into various phases. So you've got your player phase, you've got your killer phase, and you've got your character phase, I think, which we'll get to in a moment. Falling victim, right? So very quickly put, your characters die when they take when they reach the final wound. They can take 10 wounds. Once they take 10 wounds, they die. They're classed as unconscious and taken out of the game. Also, each character has a fright value, which we'll go into in a moment, but the fright value ranges between 4 and I think it's 8. And once your character reaches that fright value and goes over it, they're taken out of the game. They're classed as a victim, they become catatonic. Characters bleed once they get wounded. Some of the traits for the killers can cause multiple characters to bleed. So when a character bleeds, unless it's treated with the let me take a look at it action, which we'll go on to in a moment, it takes 1 wound every turn until it does. And when you take the let me take a look at it action, you can basically heal 2 wounds. Okay, right. So we have our preparing to play. So you call up your characters. Your characters are chosen randomly from the 6 characters that are provided, and you can also use this game with the expansions such as Final Girl and Death on the Line, and I think the other one is Attack of the Greys, although Attack of the Greys plays slightly different. And you can use the characters that are provided in those games as well with the core rules. So choose your characters, you roll for the plot, or... Okay, I've now lost my train of thought because I've just had a postal delivery. So I completely lost my train of thought. But anyway, go back over this. We call it your characters, so you choose one of the 6 characters that's available. You roll the plot, because there's random plots in the game. There's 3 scenarios in this. There's lots of scenarios on the Blacklight Studios website, and there's also scenarios in the adventures as well, the expansions. And then we set the stage, which is basically setting out all your terrain in conjunction with the actual rules. Turn order, you've got your fright phase, then you've got your killer phase, then you've got your character phase. Okay, so the fright phase, it wouldn't be a horror game if it didn't have horrific items and horrific things going on. So you build the tension up by using counters, which are these things here, the fright ones, and you place them randomly. Each turn you roll to see if you're going to get any more frights coming on the board. Sometimes you might do, sometimes you might not do. When you get to turn 6, you definitely will. You'll definitely get frights coming onto the board. And the fright tokens, every time a character comes within a set distance, which I think is 2 inches of a fright token, or if a fright character comes within 2 inches of a terrain feature, they get the chance to be spooked. Terrain features offer jump scares. You roll on a table, and the jump scare can be beneficial towards the characters, as in allow you to move another character into base contact with you, or the killer can appear. And if you've got multiple flight tokens on the board, or the killer's already on the board, sometimes the killer can teleport to where you are, more or less. He just comes out of the shadows. Okay, then we've got a killer phase, so you place the killer if he's not already plated, using his MO, so he's got his own modus operandi. There's several different types, and the scenario will tell you which type to use, unless you want to use your own. You move the killer 1d10 inches towards the characters. It always goes for the character that is more or less on its own, so it'll go for the closest character that is on its own. It takes special actions. You can attack the killer, and you can flip all light tokens. So the light tokens go from on to off, or off to on. And a quick talk about light tokens. If a light token's on, the killer can't enter that area. So if you've got a character on there, the killer can't come in. But the following turn, that will flip, and the killer can still come into there. Also, fright tokens, as soon as a fright token comes on and a light token's in the way, it discards the fright token. Okay, and then character phase, you choose which characters you want to do and in which order. Each character can take 2 actions, 2 quick actions, 1 long action and 1 quick action, or they can attack the killer. And each character has its own unique ability, which allows it to do various things, such as call for daddy with one of the characters. So you can call on a cell phone for help from a daddy, or there's another character with a megaphone that can shout encouragement to the rest of the mates and stuff. One of the characters ignores the first jump scare, sorry. Okay, so preparing to play. So you call your characters. As I say, you have your 6 characters. Each character has a bit of info on the back of the card, which we'll see in a moment, as well as the stats on the front. So we have Max the Abs here, who's your typical high school jock. So most of the guys are teenagers, but there are a couple of them that are actually adults in the expansions, although I think the final girl expansion is just all girls. I'm waiting for that to come in, so I've not really get a chance to read up on it yet. Okay, so on your look, we've got move, which is the number of inches you can move your character. We have combat, which is the number that you roll less than on a d20. We have awareness, which is the number that you roll less than on a d20. To spot things, and basically it's your perception, how good you are at reading the ground around you. We've got a fright, which is the maximum number of fright that your character's got. So Max has got a fright of 4, which basically means that Max can take 8 fright tokens before he becomes petrified and can't do anything else. And then he's got luck of 1. Now, luck is special. You can only use luck points when you've got them, because once you've used your luck points, they're gone. They don't come back unless you get something in the scenario that says something specifically different. Then you've got skills, so like Max has got rah-rah, may make 1 encourage action per turn, so he can encourage somebody else. And he's got, although that's not actually Max's skills, these are for Dana. Megaphone, electronic, battery of 3, which means you can use it 3 times. Awareness of +4 inches for encourage actions and distract actions. So you can distract the killer as well. Okay, we'll go into that in a little bit. And as I said, all characters only have 10 wounds. Right, so got supporting characters. Once a supporting character is attacked, they only have 3 wounds or 3 terror. If they take either 3 wounds or 3 terror from the killer, they're gone, they're just removed. And the killer will always attack a supporting character before he attacks the main characters. Then we've got rolling the plot, so you work out what the number of turns which are written in the plot's objective. So the first one is camping, it lasts for 12 turns, and then there's some of them one of them lasts for 16 turns, which sounds like quite a long time, but the turns can go over very, very quickly. And you've got special rules like mounting terror. Once the character leaves the board, section A, which is where they start up here, at the start of each turn they get one terror. Curious connection, all supporting characters must be placed in base-to-base contact with a point of interest. We put points of interest down on the stage where we're going to be playing, and then help is on the way. Players may place one supporting character on turn 10. So if you haven't got a character arrive, one will arrive on turn 10. And then we've got lights here. Place one light token in the centre of the camp. This is where the players start. So you place it on the campfire or around the camp. Objectives: players must get at least one character to the road in section D. So as you can see, you've got A, B, C, D on our quadrants. And make a successful awareness roll to flag down a car in order to escape by the end of turn 12. So if they don't make it by the end of turn 12, the killer wins. And then themed killer, you've got Grayson. Grayson has always been fond of the camp, even after the accident so many years ago. His MO is one step ahead, which is described on his card. He's got a mutilated visage and he's got dead eyes and relentless, which are his traits. All the characters have different traits. So you can have your Jason Voorhees type, you can have your Michael Myers type, you can have lots of different types. Then we've got worst part, the escape, trapped, and then well in the woods. These are all follow on from one another. So you could, in theory, play all 4 adventures in this game as a movie, because that's the way it's designed to play. It's very, very cinematic. Difficulty for terrain, you might decide before the game that something's difficult terrain. If it's difficult terrain, for every 1 inch you move, you double it. So a 3-inch movement would cost you, well, 6 inches for every inch you move. I think you've got area terrain as well, so you might think that, say, a crops of terrain on the table is classed as difficult terrain. That will be the entire thing itself. And then you've got different modes of play. You've got an indie mode, which is the normal game, so you play it as it's written. You've got a slasher mode, which is all the characters gain 1 part on terror at the start of their activation, and +1 to fright token rolls. And then there's exhibition mode, which is the same as slasher mode, but in addition, an extra trait for the killer, and all killer attacks are at +2 injuries. The turn order, some great artwork. So we have the Fright Phase. This is the phase where you roll for fright tokens. So on the first one, on a roll of 10 plus, you get a fright token. You start the game with, I think it's 2 fright tokens, or a number of fright tokens in play already. And those are noises in the woods and things like that. And they then move towards the characters. Turn 2, 6 plus. Turn 3, 4, 5, 6, it always goes along. On turn 6 you always get a fright token. And then we've got a fright token result here. So we've got 1 to 3. Did you hear that? Remove token and flip lights within 6 inches. So basically you turn the token, or take the token off the board, and if you've got lights that are on, they go off. If you've got lights that are off, they go on. 4 to 8 is, what was that? Move the token 6 inches towards the closest character. And then you've got 9 to 10, it's here. Immediately conjure the killer, unless you're using a scenario specific killer, and replace the fright token with a killer model. Once placed, they move the killer using its target rules under its MO. The killer is already, if the killer's already occupied, check to see if it's stalking or enraged. So the killers do one of 2 things: they either stalk or they become enraged. A stalking killer will hang in the shadows. A enraged killer, well, it kind of speaks for itself. But we'll get into that in a second. We've got a card that came with a thing as well, which has got a QR code on the back of it. And this was packed by Jonathan, and it's like a Magic the Gathering style card for the actual packer. So, Fright Phase, important fright token rules. First time the killer is revealed from a fright token, immediately conjure the killer unless you're playing a plot themed killer. When rolling for the last fright token on the board, it automatically becomes the killer if a killer is not in play. When a character activates within 4 inches of a fright token, they gain 1 point of terror for each token within 4 inches. Okay, so then we have the various, well, these are just pictures of the killers, one of the killers, and then some of the traits and stuff like that that they can have. Okay, so the killer phase, as I said, the killer moves towards the characters, the attack. Killers can be very, very lethal, as you'd imagine from a horror film. So if you imagine Jason Voorhees, how he's really hard to kill. If he's playing as the mutated killer, he's even harder. And there's other traits that make him even more difficult to kill. We've got falling victims, so basically when a character takes 10 wounds or more, or double the value in fright, or terror points, they become a victim of the killer, and they're out of play. There is occasions that you can actually rescue them, but they're mostly out of play. The character phase, which they can do movement and actions, so each character can do two quick actions and 1 long action and a quick action. And there's just a chart which tells you what kind of actions they can do. There's also a desperate action, which is the character rolls a d20 and they have a -10 modifier. So you're only actually performing the action above 10. You've got to roll above your skill. You've got to have your skill to it, but you're basically 10 is minus from whatever you roll. So the maximum you could ever roll is 10. Right, let's see, doors and windows are always considered locked. Locked doors, opening doors and windows, these are different things that you can do. Trip, if a character spends a quick action to stand up after they've been fallen open, they may take another quick action. When a character is the target of an MO, the killer adds +2 to his movement roll. A character that is successfully attacked whilst tripped takes an additional injury from damage. Right, so if you move and your fright is higher than your starting fright, there's a chance you're going to trip. You roll to see if you're going to trip. Then we've got a character phrase. Here again, we've got the jump scare. So we've got on a roll of 1, it's lunge. Place the killer into base contact with the character. 2 is eerie sounds. The character makes an awareness check. On a failed test, the character trips, so they have to spend an action to get up. Flickering light, flick all light tokens within the 12 inches of the character. Tap on the shoulder. This is a beneficial one to the characters. So place the closest standing friendly character or supporting character within 8 inches into base-to-base contact with this character. This does not cause jump scares for the character placed. If there are no characters placed, the character gains 1 terror point instead. Strange shadow, the character gains 1 terror point. Laugh it off. It's all a joke, it's just a horror movie. Remove 1 terror point, and screams in the distance. Move all fright tokens towards the character, d10 inches. So, can be good, can be bad. Okay, luck points. Luck points represent the sheer force of the will of a character to survive a plot. A character may use a luck point to do one of any action. Each may only be done once per turn per character. Okay. So reroll any dice that the target of the character, such as killers, attack or move. Reroll any skill rolls. Reroll a search table. Remove 2 points of terror or heal 2 injuries. When a character successfully searches for a weapon or supply, you may spend a luck point to generate 3 and choose 1. Okay, now I'm positive that the luck is only the amount of luck you've got on your card, and once you've used it, it's gone. But I think there's an FAQ which I'll double check. So attacking the killer, so obviously you can attack the killer with hand-to-hand combat, melee combat, or range combat. Then we've got things that you can search for. So you've got your big boys toys, weapons and supplies. So we've got a pistol, a knife, a bow, a machete, a hunting rifle, a chainsaw, a shotgun, a baseball bat, assault rifle, and an antique blade. Then we've got a battery, which gives you a free action. We've got a phone, bottle, first aid kit, energy drink, flashlight, old washcloth, which removes injuries, a bag of snacks, an old lockbox, and a set of keys. So lots of things to look at there. And then we've got quick actions, what you can do quick, and we've got long actions, what you do long, so like investigation or making a ranged combat or fending somebody off. And 7 minutes in heaven, only if you're playing as a team character. So basically your characters make out, move the killer into base contact with a different character or supporting character on the board of your choice. So they decide to make out rather than get attacked by the killer. And then we've got the quick reference sheet, which is double-sided, and that's that. It's only 28 pages long. Not a very long book, but seems quite interesting. So have a quick look at this. This is the characters themselves. It's designed like a classic VHS case, a very faded VHS case, and all the expansions come with this kind of thing. Heroes have arrived. It contains 6 resin heroes, 1 multi-part killer, blank 25mm and 32mm bases, visage and character cards and reference cards. Okay, and they're not supplied, they're supplied unpainted and unassembled. So we'll pop this open and have a look what we get. Right, so I did open the game to actually double check, and unfortunately my postman did damage the box when I actually delivered. As you can see, it's got a dent there, so it's not going to look very good on my game shelf, but it's the game that I'm bothered about, not the box. Okay, so we have our exhibition mode cards and other cards here, which are our equipment and traits and stuff like that. And they've got the Don't Look Back logos on the back. And then we turn them over. We've got indie mode, exhibition mode, and slasher mode. And then these are the MOs for your killers, traits, supernatural. They're all for your killers if you want to do them randomly. And then here we have our characters. So we've got our teens, and we've also got our adult as well. So I'll just close that up. So we've got Alice Grace, head of the cheerleading team. You can motivate and high five with the best of them. She's got a move of 5, combat of 8, awareness of 12, fright of 4, and luck of 1. And her skill is Rah-Rah. She can make 1 encourage action per turn, and Megaphone, which has got an electronic battery, so you can use it 3 times. It's got adds plus 4 inches on your awareness for encourage actions and distract actions. And there's her terror counter and her wound counter. And Alice Grace. Alice loved cheer and she enjoyed being popular with her friends, but her secret interest comes from her obsession with the supernatural. All her life, Alice was drawn to places around Northwood that seemed to have old stories tied to them. Right, so I'm not going to read all those because they're quite long. But that's Alice. Then we've got Seth Newton, who's a nerd because he's wearing glasses. You often know too much for your own good, or not. Move of 3, so he's the slowest character in the game. He's got a combat of 8, he's got an awareness of 13, he's got a fright of 4, but he's got 2 luck. His skill is will actually. Once per turn, Seth may have +2 to Seth's awareness roll before a roll, so that gives him an awareness of 15. And a flashlight, electronic battery, 2, may place a light token within 6 inches of Seth, which is good for warring away the bad guys. Got Denise DeGraw. Denise DeGraw is your daddy's girl, debutante, what have you, and one of her skills is debutante as well. So she's got a move of 4, combat of 5, awareness of 8, a fright of 1, and a luck of 1, and a skill is debutante. When Denise is in base-to-base contact with a killer, Denise may switch places with any male character within her awareness. Dennis Phone, so it's a battery 2, quick action. She may place any supporting character token on the board on a roll of 6 on a d20. So she just basically calls them on the board, which this means that instead of being attacked by the killer, the killer will attack them. Then we've got Holden Gibson. You grew up tough and fast and tough, and you don't take any crap. Got a move of 4, combat of 12, awareness of 8, fright of 5, and luck of 2. It's tough as nails. Holden can cancel his first jump scare each turn, initiated by his character or any other within 8 inches. So you can cancel his own jump scare or cancel that of another person, which is actually quite good when you're trying to play this as a cooperative game, which is what the way the game plays. And it's got a shotgun which does D5 injuries. Now, that sounds like a lot when you think that 10 injuries is normally what kills someone, but the killers can shrug off, with one of the traits, you can shrug off various hits with ease. Okay, and then we've got Max the Abs. He's got a move of 4, combat awareness, combat of 10, awareness of 10, fright of 4, and a luck of 2. He's got baby blues. He may give a female model within his awareness a free move action directly towards Max once per turn, and he's got a baseball bat. If the baseball bat hits the killer, it's knocked back 2 inches. And then finally we've got Ranger Sandy. Ranger Sandy has, obviously she's a ranger. She's got a move of 4, combat of 15, so she's quite good with a gun. Awareness of 11, fright of 5, and a luck of 1. And she's got Stay Behind Me as a skill. Once per turn, Ranger Sandy may target a killer model within her awareness. The target model moves into base contact with Sandy instead of anyone else, and that counts the killer model as having moved. And then she's got a service pistol which does 2 damage every time it hits, and it's got an ammo of 6, and you can find ammo as well. Then we've got our stats for our killers as well. Right, so we've got a mundane. He's got 10 wounds. When the mundane killer is driven off, replace it with a fright token. Special actions: mundane killers always supporting character. When it kills a supporting character, it removes 3 injuries. Mundane killers are affected by difficult terrain. And its attacks, it's got revolver, which is range 12, combat 12, damage 3. And it's got strangle. Mundane killers target a character in base-to-base contact with most terror points. Combat 15, damage 2. The following turn, a targeted character may only make a single quick or long action. Your neighbours may be the ice cream truck driver. They don't seem threatening at all. So that's an old roll of 1 to 2. On a 3 to 4, we've got a mutilated killer. He's got wounds of 10. So when he's driven off, all the characters remove 1 additional terror point. He reduces the amount of damage that he takes per turn by 2 to a minimum of 1. So if you're shooting him with a shotgun, it's going to be very hard to kill him. He has various blades and he has wild swings. It looks as though it's been tortured or severely injured in an accident. You can hear the sucking of the gore-covered chest wound. And then we've got Familiar, the Michael Myers type character. Wounds 10, driven off. When a familiar killer is driven off, replace the killer with a fright token and place all characters in base-to-base contact with that token. Special action: all characters are in -2 to target the familiar character. Before a familiar character attacks, all characters move 2 inches towards the killer. Because it's somebody that they know, you got his attacks are unexpected stabbing and surprise backhand. Your neighbour always used to be so friendly, but something has changed about them in the past few days. And then disjointed, wounds 8, driven off. When the character is driven off, immediately replace the killer and follow its MO. So basically he goes back on the board once you get him off. Special actions: when a disjointed killer moves, all characters in line of sight gain 1 terror point, and his attacks are shudder step and unnatural crawl. Alright, sometimes it's twisted and hunted. Hunched form, moves on all fours. Its head twisting unnatural as it stirs. Each step it takes, its bones and tendons creak and snap. And then finally we have the supernatural one, which is the ethereal one. It's only got 5 wounds. When it's driven off, an ethereal killer is driven off. Replace the killer's model with 2 fright tokens. Special action: ethereal killers only take 1 damage from attacks. When an ethereal killer moves, it may freely to terrain. It's got an earthy wail and chilled grasp. Spectral and haunting: the spirit moves through solid surfaces with ease. Its mouth twists, but no words are heard. Right, so that's a quick look at the cards and the rules. And as I said, the actual Don't Look Back cards, they're not event cards. They are your procedural to generate your character. Now the characters themselves, the killers, are, because of the way they're actually designed, the killer can quite easily Well, we just get the bases out. Right. So the killer can very, very easily be controlled by its AI. The artificial intelligence for the game makes it so the killer will go directly towards the first character, or the closest character, or the character that's alone, or whatever the scenario says. Right, so we have our characters here. We have 3 and 3. We've got our cheerleader with her megaphone. We've got our jock with his baseball bat. We've got a guy with his gun. There's his shotgun there. That looks a little bit thin. Good quality resin. Then we've got the Ranger Sandy. We've got our nerd with his backpack on, and we've also got our debutant with a mobile phone in her hand. And it's a classic 80s style mobile phone as well. One of the big ones that looks like it needs a nuclear power pad to work with. And then we've got our killer. Now the killer can be assembled in various ways. It comes with several heads and several arms. And if I can just get him out of the bag without losing everything. Alright, for some reason the bag's not opening. Alright, that's right, because there's another bag inside the bag. That's right. Okay. Right, I know why. The bag's ripped. It did seem like the bag was open, but it's not. Right. I'm just going to tear that open. Right, so we've got our base. He's on a larger base. And as you can see, he looks very much like Jason Voorhees. He's got an axe, a hammer, a machete, and a knife. He's got a severed head in one hand. He's got this head here, which is a bit like the head from The Hidden. Not The Hidden, sorry. They, which is the horror movie with the scarecrow type people. And then you've got your hockey mask. Is that the hockey mask one? You've got your Michael Myers style head. And he's also got another head here, which is, if I can pick it up, that's what I've just picked up. I've got this one here, which is your hockey mask. All quite cool. And then there's another head there, so like several different heads. That's like a normal bald head. And he's got a pistol as well. So there's various ways, you can assemble him in various ways. And what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to pause the video, and then I'm going to put all these onto the bases and clean them up and assemble them. And then we'll be right back and have a look at what they look like when they're all assembled. Okay, welcome back. So I've assembled all of the models. It didn't take very long. There's a couple of things you need to know about resin models before you actually start assembling them. They're not like your average Games Workshop plastic kit. They need to be you need to assemble them using super glue or epoxy glue. I'd recommend super glue rather than epoxy because it dries better and dries quicker. And epoxy, not only does it take a long time to dry, it can actually cause issues when you're trying to assemble your miniatures. Okay, and the next thing is once you've actually assembled all the models and got the pieces all in place, just give them a quick wash with some warm soapy water, a bit of washing up liquid or detergent in there to release, to get rid of any release agent that might be on the model, because you may find you've got an issue when you come to paint them and the paint just pools on them. Okay, so these have been washed and assembled and dried and everything. So let's get on to it. So this one, the first one, this is Denise DeGros. She's armed with a short skirt and a very fashionable top because she's a debutante and she's got Daddy's phone. On the whole, pretty easy model to put together because Denise is more or less just two pieces. She's got her hand holding the phone, this one here, and of course the rest of it is just one piece. The hand holding the phone is a bit tricky to put on because it's so small and fiddly. Okie dokie. And then the next character we've got here, I'm just going to move the camera a little bit, is this is Seth Newton. He's the nerd he's armed with his flashlight, and the detail's brilliant, absolutely fantastic detail on them, and all kudos to the guys over at Blacksite Studios. The resin's really, really good, and it's easy to work with. So Seth's just basically a two-piece kit again. It's his arm holding the flashlight, and it goes onto the miniature itself. So he's your nerd. He's got his bow tie on. He doesn't have a pocket protector, which is, you know, a very 80s thing to do. Now this is the miniature that I have the most problem with. This one is Holden Gibson. He's your angry guy with a gun type model. Holden's comes in two pieces. He's got the shotgun, and he's also got his body as well. Now the shotgun didn't want to go in properly. If you can see that the hand is not quite aligned, so what I'm going to do is just actually use a bit of putty on that. And you've also got to be very, very careful when you separate this from the tree that the figure comes with, because it's very fragile. I've still got a little bit of cleanup to do on this guy. As you can see on the bottom of his leg, he's got a little bit of fur from the resin, but other than that, he's alright. He's quite good. I would have preferred him not to have the jacket on, because I got a really good idea for a colour scheme for him, but he's got the jacket on, so it's not going to work. Then next one, we've got everyone's favourite, Alice Grace, the cheerleader. Alice is again another two-piece kit. In fact, I think all of them, all of them are two-piece kits apart from the killer. Alice is holding a megaphone, and in a rah-rah pose, she's trying to basically get everybody motivated. And I don't like the idea of a megaphone. I think it's a pretty boring idea. And the model's brilliant. The sculpt's brilliant. There's all the details on the folds on a skirt. You know, you could really go to town with that. There's a little bit of flash that I've just noticed that's on a heel that I need to get rid of, but that's quite easy to do, and I will do that before I prime them and get them painted. So that's Alice, and then we've got Ranger Sandy. If I can pick her up. Where is she? There she is. That's Ranger Sandy. She's another two-piece kit. As I said, they're all two-piece kits. That's her arm that's up, and she's got a pistol. I don't know if she's actually got two pistols. I don't think she has, because you do get a spare pistol. I think it's for the killer though, in a holster. Not that I need it anyway, because I'm going to put it on. Again, nice looking model. Gonna have to research some Ranger uniforms, see if I can get them done. Okay, and then finally of the teenagers, I know she's not a teenager, but of the teenagers, we have Max the Abs. He's the jock, and Max is wielding his very own baseball bat, and he's got a Letterman jacket on as well. And I really like the detail on this guy, and again I've noticed that it's just looking through the camera, I can actually see little tiny bits that I've missed with my eye, because the camera's actually got a better focus than my vision, because I've got quite poor vision. So little bits under his chin that need cleaning up before I actually paint him. And then finally we'll go to the big guy himself. Now, you can assemble Killer in various ways, but I've gone for a classic pose. I've given him the Michael Myers style face mask, because I've already got a miniature from Blacksite, which is a Jason Voorhees kind, and I've given him a knife. And I'm just going to basically paint him like Michael Myers from the first Halloween movie, or as he was known, the Shape from the first Halloween movie. And this is like a William Shatner mask turned inside out. Nice model, very, very good. So those are our also you notice that there's a little gap here that I'm just going to have to fill, but that's quite easy to do. Right, so bring all the gang back. So that's a quick look at Don't Look Back from Blacksite Studios. Hopefully we're going to be getting some games in soon, and I'm going to get these all painted up. I'm going to use the slap chop or underpainting method to actually get these done. I think they'll look brilliant with contrast paints. And I'm really looking forward to capturing this 80s vibe with them. So with that said, the game's available from Blacksite Studios and lots of good retailers. I don't know if you're going to get any bargains. I didn't get a bargain, that's for sure. But unfortunately, with Blacksite, because they're based in America, it tends to be very, very expensive for the shipping to get over to the UK. The shipping's normally like the same cost as the game itself. So I was lucky I managed to get this from a UK supplier. Okay, so as always, I've been Mark. Thank you for tuning into Gamers Web, and we'll hopefully see you soon. And no matter where you are in the world, please stay safe, look after yourself, and happy gaming.